I watched my children walk into the lawyer's office like they were attending a business meeting. Not a funeral. Not a final goodbye. A transaction. Dad, seriously, how long is this going to take? I have a flight at 6. Chad didn't even look up from his phone when he said it. Amanda cleared her throat. We just want to make sure everything is in order. She said it like I was paperwork. I sat across from them at the mahogany conference table in Linda's office. The room smelled like leather and old money. Dark wood paneling, brass lamps, a table so polished I could see my reflection, and theirs. Amanda sat beside Chad, perfectly composed, hands folded like she was at a board meeting. She looked at Linda, not me. We're ready whenever you are, Amanda said. Her tone was pleasant, professional, like I wasn't even in the room. Neither of them had looked at me since walking in. They thought they were here to secure their future. They were wrong. Linda, my lawyer, sat at the head of the table with a manila folder in front of her. She'd handled my affairs for 15 years. She knew everything. Thank you all for coming, Linda said. Her voice was professional, neutral. We're here for the reading of George's last will and testament. George, that was me. 74 years old. Still alive. Still sitting right here. Chad finally looked up from his phone. Wait, Dad's not dead yet. Linda's expression didn't change. No. George asked to be present for this reading. Amanda's eyes narrowed. That's unusual. It's George's request, Linda said. She opened the folder. I'd been planning this moment for 6 months, ever since the diagnosis. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave me 8 months. That was 7 months ago. I wanted to see their faces. Linda began reading. I, George, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. Chad leaned forward. Amanda's hands tightened on the table. Here we go. It started with a phone call at 2:37 p.m. on a Tuesday. Dr. Reynolds's voice was careful, measured, the kind of voice doctors use when they're about to ruin your life. George, the scans came back. I need you to come in. I knew what that meant. The appointment was the next morning. Dr. Reynolds showed me images I didn't understand, white and gray shapes on a black screen. Pancreatic cancer, he said. Stage 4. It's spread to your liver. I remember the clock on the wall. 10:47 a.m. The second hand kept moving. How long? I asked. 6 to 8 months, maybe a year with aggressive treatment. What's aggressive treatment? Chemotherapy, radiation. It'll buy you time, but the quality of life? He trailed off. I understood. I want to skip treatment. Dr. Reynolds nodded slowly. Then I'd say 6 months, maybe less. I called Amanda that afternoon. She was my oldest, 42, a pharmaceutical sales rep in Portland. She answered on the 4th ring. Dad, I'm in a meeting. I have cancer, I said. Silence. Then, what kind? Pancreatic. Stage 4, 6 months. Another pause. I heard voices in the background, someone laughing. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'll call you back, okay? I'm really swamped right now. She didn't call back. I sat at the kitchen table for an hour after that call, staring at the phone, wondering if I'd raised children who could hear the word cancer and say, I'll call you back. I called Chad 2 days later. He was 38, worked in finance in San Diego, lived in a condo with a view of the ocean that he'd shown me exactly once on a video call. Hey, Dad, what's up? I'm dying. Pancreatic cancer. Oh, wow, that's heavy. How long? 6 months. Damn. Okay. Well, let me know if you need anything. I'd like you to visit. Yeah, definitely. I'll check my calendar. Things are crazy at work right now. End of quarter, you know how it is. I didn't know how it is. I'd been a high school history teacher for 40 years. We didn't have quarters. He never checked his calendar. That night, I realized something I'd been avoiding for years. My children had become strangers who happened to share my last name. After the calls, I sat in my living room for 3 hours, the same living room where I'd raised those 2 kids, the same couch where we'd watched movies on Friday nights, the same fireplace where we'd hung Christmas stockings for 30 years. My wife Nancy had been gone for 5 years. Heart attack. Sudden. She didn't suffer. If she were here, she'd tell me I was being too hard on them, that they were busy, that they had lives. But Nancy wasn't here, and I had 6 months. That's when I decided to test them. I called Linda the next day. I want to update my will. Of course. What changes are you thinking? I'll explain when I come in, but I need something specific. A clause. What kind of clause? A visit requirement. If my children don't visit me in the last 6 months of my life, they get nothing. Linda was quiet for a moment. That's enforceable, but it's harsh. Can you do it? Yes. But George, are you sure? I'm dying, Linda. I'm very sure. We drafted the clause that week. It was simple, elegant, brutal. In order to inherit under this will, each beneficiary must have visited the testator in person at least once during the final 6 months of his life. Failure to meet this requirement will result in complete forfeiture of inheritance, which will instead be donated to charity. I signed it on March 15th. The 6-month window started March 3rd, the day I got the diagnosis call. That was the real beginning of the end. Then I waited. I didn't tell Chad or Amanda about the diagnosis again. If they cared, they'd call. They'd visit. March passed, no calls. April came and went, no visits. In May, I sent a group text. Would love to see you both soon. Miss you. Amanda replied 3 days later. Miss you too, Dad. Super busy with work. Soon. Chad didn't reply at all. June. Nothing. July. I sent another text. Feeling my age. Would mean a lot to see you. Amanda. Hang in there. I'll try to come out this fall. This fall. It was already summer. I'd be dead by fall. August arrived. I'd lost 20 pounds. I looked like a skeleton. Walking to the mailbox left me winded. Still nothing. What I didn't know, what I'd find out later, was that they were already planning. And what I didn't realize yet was that my silence had become a test they were failing in real time. Linda showed me the emails after I died. Well, after they thought I died. Their lawyer handed over everything during discovery. The first email was from June 3rd, Chad to Amanda. Dad sounded weird on that call in February. Think he's losing it. We should probably talk about power of attorney soon. Amanda's response. He's 74. It's going to happen eventually. I looked it up. His house is worth $650K. Plus his retirement accounts, that's probably $400K. Split 2 ways, that's over $500K each. Over $500K each. They were counting my money while I was still breathing. Chad, June 10th. Should we visit? Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid with the estate? Amanda. He's not going anywhere. Let's wait until things settle at work. Besides, if we show up now, he'll think something's wrong. If they'd shown up, something would have been right. July 22nd. Chad. Any word from Dad? Amanda. Just a text. Same old stuff. I'll visit at Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. I'd be dead by Thanksgiving. August 14th. Amanda to Chad. I called Linda's office, asked about Dad's estate planning. She said everything was in order, but wouldn't give details. We should get copies of the will. Chad. Can we do that? Amanda. Not unless he gives permission. But once he's gone, we'll find out soon enough. August 19th. Chad. We can visit after the paperwork clears. No point stressing him out now. Once I'm gone. They were so sure they'd inherit. So confident. That was when I realized something. They weren't waiting for me to die. They were waiting for payday. They had no idea what was coming. On September 3rd, I collapsed in my kitchen. The hospice nurse found me an hour later, dehydrated, malnourished. I'd stopped eating much. Food tasted like cardboard. They admitted me to hospice care, a facility 10 minutes from my house, clean, quiet. The nurses were kind. I had my own room, a window that looked out at an oak tree, a TV I never watched, and a phone. I called Amanda from the hospice room. She answered on the second ring this time. Dad, I'm in hospice, I said. What? Why? Because I'm dying. I told you that 6 months ago. I know, but hospice? That's the end, isn't it? Yes. Silence. I could hear her breathing. I'm sorry, Dad. I should have visited. I kept meaning to, but work has been insane and... Will you come now? Another pause. When? Soon. This week. I don't have much time. Okay. Yeah, I'll figure something out. She didn't come. I called Chad. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Chad, it's Dad. I'm in hospice. I'd really like to see you before I go. Please call me back. He texted 4 hours later. Sorry, Dad. On a work trip. I'll try to get out there soon. Hang in there. Hang in there. I was dying, and my son told me to hang in there like I had the flu. The nurses asked if I wanted visitors. My kids are coming, I said. They never came. On September 28th, Dr. Reynolds visited. George, it's time to talk about the end. Days, not weeks. I nodded. I'd known. I could feel it. My body shutting down piece by piece. Is there anyone you want us to call? I thought about it. Then I shook my head. No, just Linda, my lawyer. Linda came the next day. She sat beside my bed holding a folder. It's done, I said. The 6 months are up. They didn't come. She looked at me with something like sadness. No, they didn't. Then the will stands as written. It does. Good. I closed my eyes. When I'm gone, I want you to call them for the reading. I want to be there. George, you won't be... I'll be there, I interrupted. I opened my eyes. I'm not dying this week. I'm dying today, tonight, but I'll be there for the reading. Linda understood. You want me to record it? No, I want to attend in person. She frowned. I don't understand. You will. I didn't die on September 28th, or the 29th, or the 30th. On October 1st, I woke up feeling better, not good, not healthy, but less like I was drowning. Dr. Reynolds called it a terminal rally, a rebound, he said. Days, maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Long enough. I want to leave hospice, I said. George, I don't think that's wise. I'm not asking for permission. They discharged me on October 3rd. I went home, back to my house, my living room, my couch. I called Linda. Schedule the will reading for October 17th, 2 weeks. You're not dead. I know. Schedule it anyway. Tell Chad and Amanda it's a pre-death reading. Tell them I want to explain my wishes while I'm still lucid. George. Please, Linda. She scheduled it. I sent the invitations myself. Email. Subject line. Important. Estate planning meeting. Chad, Amanda. I'm meeting with my lawyer on October 17th at 2 p.m. to discuss my will and estate. I'd like you both to attend. It's important. Dad. Chad replied within an hour. I'll be there. Amanda. Wouldn't miss it. Wouldn't miss it. They hadn't visited me in hospice, hadn't called in 6 months, but mentioned the will, and suddenly they're available. Back in Linda's office. October 17th, 2 p.m. Linda continued reading. To my children, Chad and Amanda, I leave the entirety of my estate, my house at 428 Maple Drive, my retirement accounts, my savings, all assets, properties, and holdings. Chad smiled. Actually smiled. Amanda exhaled. Relief. Linda kept reading. The total estimated value of this estate is approximately 1.1 million. Chad's eyes widened. Amanda sat up straighter. More than they'd thought. However, Linda said, the room went still. The inheritance is conditional upon one requirement. She paused. Looked directly at Chad, then Amanda. Quote, failure to visit during the final 6 months shall result in forfeiture of all inheritance. Silence. Amanda's face went white. Linda clarified. Between March 3rd and September 3rd of this year, each beneficiary was required to visit George in person. Once, that's all. One line, 6 months, 1.1 million. The words hung in the air. Chad blinked. That's not a condition, he said. That's a trap. Amanda's face went pale. Wait, what does that mean? Linda's voice was steady, professional. It means that in order to inherit, you each needed to visit your father between March 3rd and September 3rd of this year. But we didn't know, Chad started. The will doesn't require knowledge, Linda interrupted. It requires action. Amanda turned to me. Dad, this is insane. You never told us there was a requirement. I told you I had cancer, I said quietly. I told you I was dying. I asked you to visit. We were busy. I was dying. The room went silent. Linda continued. The will further states, if any beneficiary fails to meet this requirement, their share of the inheritance will be forfeited entirely. The forfeited assets will be donated to the following charities. She read the list. The Alzheimer's Association, the local hospice, the Children's Hospital. Chad shot to his feet. This is bullshit. You can't do this. Sit down, Linda said. We're his children. Sit down. He sat. Amanda's hands were shaking. Dad, please, we made a mistake. We should have visited. But you can't punish us like this. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm giving you exactly what you gave me. What does that mean? Nothing. They tried to contest it, of course. Amanda hired a lawyer, some guy in Portland who specialized in estate disputes. He sent Linda a letter 3 days after the reading. The conditional clause in George's will is unconscionable and unenforceable. We intend to challenge it in probate court. Linda replied the same day. The clause is entirely legal. The testator had the right to distribute his assets as he saw fit. If your clients wish to proceed, we'll see them in court. They proceeded. The hearing was in November. I was still alive, barely. The cancer was winning, but I'd held on long enough. Judge Whitman presided. She was in her 60s. No nonsense. Amanda's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, this will is punitive. It punishes my clients for not visiting their father during an arbitrary time period. Arbitrary, Linda said. The time period was the last 6 months of his life. The 6 months he spent dying. That's not arbitrary. My clients didn't know about the requirement. They didn't need to know. They needed to care. Judge Whitman cut in. Counselor, does your client dispute that she failed to visit her father during the specified period? Amanda's lawyer hesitated. No, Your Honor, but... And was she aware that her father was terminally ill? Yes, but then I see no grounds for challenging the will. The testator had the right to set conditions. The conditions were clear and legal. Case dismissed. Amanda's lawyer closed his folder. Across the courtroom, Amanda stared at the table. She didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just sat there in the silence, shoulders tight, a woman who'd just lost $1 million because she couldn't make a single visit. Chad didn't even show up to the hearing. Amanda came to see me after the hearing. It was November 8th. I was back in hospice, this time for real. She sat in the chair beside my bed, red eyes, no makeup. She looked older than 42. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't respond. I should have been there. I should have visited. I was selfish and stupid, and I'm sorry. Why didn't you? I asked. My voice was barely a whisper now. She was quiet for a long time. Then, I didn't want to see you dying. I didn't want to face it. It was easier to pretend everything was fine. Easier for who? She looked down. For me. At least she was honest. I loved you, I said. I always loved you. I know. But love isn't enough. You have to show up. She started crying. I know. I'm sorry. I closed my eyes. I'm tired, Amanda. I know. I'll go. She stood. At the door, she stopped. For what it's worth, I don't care about the money anymore. I just wish I'd been a better daughter. Me too, I said. She left. I never saw her. I never saw... Again? I died on November 14th. Peacefully, the nurses said. In my sleep. Linda handled everything. The funeral, the estate, the donations. The house sold for $680,000. The retirement accounts totaled $430,000. With savings and other assets, the estate was worth $147,000. Every penny went to charity. The hospice received $400,000. They built a new wing and named it after Nancy. The Alzheimer's Association got $400,000. The Children's Hospital got $347,000. Chad sent Linda an email after the donations were finalized. I hope you're happy. You turned our father against us. Linda didn't respond. He sent another one 3 days later, this time to my estate email. You ruined our future. Hope it was worth it. I was already gone, but if I'd seen it, I would have known. Even at the end, he still didn't get it. Chad never apologized. Even then, he still thought this was about money. That told me everything. He didn't lose the money that day. He lost the right to call me Dad. Amanda sent flowers to the hospice wing. The card read, "In memory of a father who deserved better." She was right. I did deserve better. But here's what I learned in those last 6 months. Some people don't show up until there's something in it for them. And by then, it's too late. I gave my kids exactly what they wanted. They wanted my money. They wanted my house. They wanted their inheritance. And I gave it to them, right up until the moment I didn't. Because the truth is, they'd already made their choice. They chose work over visits, convenience over compassion, money over memory. I didn't punish them. I just showed them what their choices cost. What would you do? If your kids didn't visit you while you were dying, would you still leave them your life savings? If someone only showed up when there was money involved, would you reward that? I couldn't, because at the end of the day, I didn't want my legacy to be money. I wanted it to be a lesson. Maybe you, or do you think I was too harsh? Maybe you think 6 months wasn't enough time. Maybe you think love should come with second chances. But here's what I keep wondering. If it were you lying in that hospice bed, waiting for a call that never came, what would you have done differently? Be honest. Was I too harsh, or was this exactly fair? If you think I was wrong, say it. If you think they earned this, say that too. The hospice wing with Nancy's name helps 20 families a month. The Alzheimer's research is funding clinical trials. The Children's Hospital bought new equipment that's saving lives. My money is doing more good now than it ever would have in Chad's investment portfolio or Amanda's checking account. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere down the line, they'll understand why. I didn't take their inheritance away. They didn't lose the inheritance. They forfeited it the day they stopped showing up. If you enjoy stories like this, feel free to check out my channel. Sometimes the quietest revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own choices.